was, for example, a lawyer. And then they say, but why do you give up your beautiful career? You make a lot of money, to be poor and makes this kind of challenges. And they considered it rather stupid, right? So it was just before Christmas. We had a lifeline of 1-2 months, and we did not have a lot of time to survive. We had all the negotiations we had done before, and then everybody kicked out and lost a lot of money, or the markets went down. So we asked actually our employees whether they're okay to forego the last salary of the year. But I thought how can we, you have to calm down yourself doing routine work, right? So in the morning cutting wood, making fire, then I was cooking a lot. The Bitcoin focuses and attracts a lot of passionate people also. We have people who came, they got offers from consultancy companies for 200K, and they started with us at that time for 40K. So I love challenges, but sometimes, of course, there are challenges you like and some challenges you don't like. Some challenges you choose also, and some challenges just come on your way. A lot of people get carried away with thinking too much about what happens in the future. Then you develop fear, and then you cannot think clearly so much anymore. It's pretty important. You don't worry about the future. My sister once said to me, when I would have your life, I could not sleep. So it was just before Christmas. We had a lifeline of 1-2 months, and we did not have a lot of time to survive. We had all the negotiations we had done before, and then everybody kicked out and lost a lot of money, or the markets went down. So we asked actually our employees whether they're okay to forego the last salary of the year, which is the most important, because you want to buy Christmas presents, you want to travel and so on. We said, okay, you get a bonus when we a double bonus, and you get stocks of our company. And everybody was agreeing, and I was very astonished. It was a difficult time. What I did actually at that time, I went to a house in Switzerland. I thought how can we, you have to calm down yourself, right? I also did not, of course, we also did not have a lot of money. So I was really doing routine work, right? So in the morning cutting wood, making fire. Then I was cooking a lot, and then walked in the nature, and then went back to bed early, and then again, So it was really a meditation of, and this helped me a lot. And then I came out with a lot more energy. But in the end, we managed then to raise, however, a little funds to survive, and then we continued like that. We don't have so much hierarchies. Maybe we can call it a scale up. But at that time, we were still a startup, definitely. You listen to everybody, It's more about meritocracies and democracy in general. When somebody knows something better, we listen also, right?
Good.
And I think that's very encouraging for people. And then, of course, we are one of the only really Bitcoin-focused company with a tokenization platform, and of course it's super innovative. We are revolutionizing the financial markets in this how securities are traded, issued, and the like. So this you don't find so often in life. And then the Bitcoin focuses and attracts a lot of passionate people also, right? We have people who came, they got offers from consultancy companies for 200K, and they started with us at that time for 40K, just to learn. Can you tell your story? I was once in Abu Dhabi, and in Abu Dhabi, most of the taxi drivers are actually coming from Africa. And he came from Rwanda. I always like to talk to taxi drivers because it's always interesting, I think, what kind of stories they have. And then he asked me what I'm doing, and then he said, yes, that's very interesting, because he cannot open a bank account in Abu Dhabi. He's not allowed to open a bank account, and his mission is he's driving his taxi for 2 years, and then he buys 2 or 3 good cows. You can, with a few cows, you can make more cows, when you're smart, and then you can drive, you can grow the business, and you can marry, because you need cows to find the women and the like. So it's something he was working on his dream. And he said he did it now the second time. And the first time he got robbed on the way, because he brought all the cash, and then the money was gone. And this time he has it on Bitcoin. So he just has the passphrase in his head, nobody can take it from him. right? And he is controlling it totally. It's, for example, a very beautiful use case for Bitcoin. I have so many challenges in my profession every day, right? Every day there's a challenge. But I like to get out of my comfort zone also. This makes me extremely happy sometimes. It's my personality. I'm like explorer, adventure type of person, right? So I like new stuff, and I like to. So now, for example, I come back from Africa, and I learned, there was a lot of challenges in the sense of like dealing with like these wild animals, with the danger. I learned more about photography, and also like everything was challenging, right? But beautiful at the same time. And then you have like really like, you have like, it puts like a smile on your face. So I love challenges, but sometimes of course there are challenges you like and some challenges you don't like. Some challenges you choose also, and some challenges just come on your way. And then you think, yeah, maybe this would have not been needed. Like I'm an adventurer person, so it's a personality thing, right? And I think adventurers are very good in setting up companies, right? Maybe at one point of time they will move on and try new adventures. But I think the challenge is for me also like, is like I like also like danger. Yeah, because there was political unrest, right? So everybody canceled the trip except of myself.
Except yourself, yeah.
My father was an architect, but he was working very hard. When he said like, okay, I will be an independent entrepreneur, I will not work, because before he worked for the city as an architect. And then he set up his own firm, and I visited them in Munich, and then they were like in a very small flat, and the kitchen table was actually the washing machine, so it was very poor beginning. Another downside, by the way, was that we always have to bring our Christmas presents and birthday presents back when like there was a tax inspection.
Oh, that sounds rather traumatizing for a kid. I mean,
yes.
Yeah.
I got like once like like this cassette trick, or like you know what I mean.
We are the same age. I know, yeah.
Maybe I should not say this actually. And then we had like to bring it back, like, and then it was like, yeah. And then we had to bring it back, and of course we got it back, but it was always like
so there was a happy end, because it was just shocked. I mean,
I think all decisions you take are not always rational as a human. In the end, it's experience for me also, right? And I take very fast decisions normally, so I'm very impatient in decision-making processes. So I like to take a decision and then rather like see what's happening, and rather like than pondering around for months and years, like what I can do. And I think it's very important to take fast decisions. So I'm not thinking actually often too much, and then maybe you're right in this sense. Then you can call it the gut feeling, or like just like the feeling, because you cannot like see all the pros and cons, in decision making processes. I'm trying to, however, play with outcomes. So potential outcomes. So I play also with probabilities, right? In general, when I take a decision, so I think, okay, when I take this decision, what is the probable outcome? When you say like, okay, I take a path decision, right? I go here, left or right, right? The end result will be very, very different, no? So I think sometimes you cannot pivot away anymore, right? So you took the path and then you're on the path and then you have to go through it, or you would not go back, but probably that's nobody really does, right? I believe also a lot in that, that a lot of things you do are like very unconscious. But it doesn't matter in the end. It does not, I think it's a path is also very important in life. It's not only the results. And sometimes you are successful, sometimes you're not so successful. It's up and down. Ideally, you enjoy all the times. But this I had to learn. This I really had to learn. And I think when we started, I wanted also to make it very beautiful and perfect, like the platform. So we designed the platform for a specific user. So it was like Sarah from Berlin, very young, affluent in tech and so on. And and from this, we totally pivoted away, actually. So I think like this I had to learn that you have like to do it like very incremental, and then you're faster. I mean, we made so many mistakes on the way, because nobody in our company really was an entrepreneur or set up a company before. So my co-founder, he was very young at that time. He came from Calcutta, and he started in a law firm in Hamburg, and then after a few months, we set up the company together. So we made a lot of mistakes, but we had also like very supportive investors and in general supporters around us. So they were always leaving us. They trusted us totally. I don't know really why, but they did. And because I said, okay, it's like so new what you do. You don't actually anyhow don't know how to do it in the end, And we were a perfect team, and we are still a perfect team, I think, in that sense. We had a lot of mistakes. We hired, for example, in the beginning, like a marketing manager, right? After 2 years, and we did not even have a product fit, right? And she was costing an awful lot of money, and she came from the corporate world, and she was telling us how to do everything. We did not even need it, There was nothing to market. So, I mean, like we did so many stupid stuff in the end, right? On the way. But then we rectified like our decisions, and then we moved on. I think this is like what you have to do when you do mistakes in life. You have like to somehow learn from them and move on, and not ponder too much, but learn, of course. A lot of people get carried away with thinking too much about what happens in the future, and then you develop fear, and then you cannot think clearly so much anymore. It's pretty important. You don't worry about the future. And my sister once said to me, she said, like, when I would have your life, I could not sleep. But I mean, of course, as an entrepreneur, sometimes you cannot sleep. Live in the moment, definitely. I think this is for me like something I really learned in life. And when I was young, I always thought about the future, right? Also, especially when you're like studying, you always like think, okay, when I do that and that and that, and I will be that and that and that, But in the end, you should have just enjoyed life. Definitely resilience, helps, even when everything looks unachievable and you want to do it, you will succeed. Right? I think you can make it always, right? And I had it very often in my life that I was like really like I did not make it, and I did not make it. And there was a wall, and there was a wall, and there was a wall, and I was like just like consistent. And I said, okay, let's walk through it.
Love it.
And that's what we also did with our company STOKR, right? When I told my story in the beginning, and and then like the people looked at me, and of course, good luck.